Hello everyone. A very good evening to all present here. I am Lokendra Singh. With immense pleasure and gratitude, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all present here for that international webinar on management of waste road to sustainable future on behalf of the digisaksham. So before proceeding with the webinar, let me take a brief moment for the introduction of my organization. digisaksham is an initiative of SEMS Group, a global marketplace for learning and teaching online, where students are learning new skills and achieving their goals by motto learning with earning. digisaksham has developed content for over 300 courses in multiple languages, which range from 4 hours to 6 months in various sectors of IT, BFSI, retail, entrepreneurship for all age groups, from schools, children's, youth, professionals, and senior citizens. digisaksham has conducted more than 150 webinars, 10 plus FDPS and workshops, 7 international conferences. digisaksham impacted more than 15,000 plus lives through various webinars, conferences, workshops, and seminars across the globe. So let's talk about today's topic, which is wastage management. How we can define a wastage management? It is a strategy which is used by organization to dispose, reduce, reuse, and prevention of the waste. Possible waste disposal methods are such that recycling, composting, landfills, bioremediation, waste to energy, and waste minimization. So, to guide us all through this topic, today we are having Mr. David Ushi Mansa as our guest speaker. David Ushi Mansa is an environmental engineer, skills in R&D, quality assurance, wastewater treatment, and environmental consultancy demonstrated in his history of working in the environmental consulting and service industries, including research facilities. He is a co-founder and project manager of EcoAmet Solutions, a leading environmental consulting service and research providing company in Ghana. He is a leading in providing water waste and solid waste management solution in local communities using nature-based solutions with several years of experience working with renowned experts in China and Spain. David is passionate about environmental sustainability and education. He hosts and produces the Green Living Chats podcast, where he discusses emerging environmental challenges and promotes environmental related projects with guests across the globe. He is also serves as the certified Industry 5.0 ambassador for Ghana, where he fosters waste prevention, education, and consulting to build a wasteless world together with a network of ambassadors all over the world. He is currently a global citizen scholar under the 2022 Ban Ki-moon Center of Global Citizens. Welcome, sir. We are glad to hear you, sir.
Hi, hello everybody. Thank you for the kind introduction. All right, so thank you everyone for making time for this conversation, and I hope we are going to learn something interesting today. So just as the introduction mentioned, my name is David Ewusi Mensah, and we are going to have a conversation around management of waste and how are we going to make it more sustainable moving forward. All right, so today we'll be discussing things about introducing the topic, defining certain terms, and we'll be talking about why waste should be managed and what are some of the loopholes that we find in the industry. And then we'll also dive into how we can make this industry more sustainable, right? Perfect. All right, so let's kick off. Waste, what and the hows, right? What are the things, what is the concept of waste? We have to understand this concept really well before we can even dive more into its management. So the concept of wasting, well, there are so many problems with what we think as waste and wasting generally because we don't consider them as resources. But later, of course, we'll be diving into this as well. So in our mindset, what everyone knows is waste is something we do not want anymore. And we don't want it in our homes. We don't want it in our offices. We don't want it in the industry. So we just discard them off, right? And it comes from so many sources. There are so many sources of wasting which we might not know if you are not in the industry. I'm not sure if we have people from the industry. I'll be glad if we do. But then from taking resources from nature to bringing it to the shops for us to buy them and use them, there is wasting in every stage of it. So from the raw material extraction, from the manufacturing, from the distribution and everything, there is wasting in all those sectors. And we should understand that there are different types of industries. We have the textile, we have paper, we have food industry, which extends to agriculture, we have animal farming, we have construction, a whole lot of industries. But then all these industries are supplying or they are generating waste in every stage of their supply chain. And when you even come to our homes individually, all of us generate waste every day. And if you go to local communities, people just go and dump waste each and every day. And so wasting has a lot of sources that if we really want to dive into it, I think it's going to be a very long conversation today. So, but I'm sure it's very clear to everyone because we need to get this understanding well so that we can all jump through with the conversation, right? So everybody quickly get to this platform, just type whatever comes to your mind, as many as you can, and we will all see it here and we can discuss that afterwards. So we'll take just about 20 seconds to do that. So everybody get on the page and okay, good. So we see reuse. Anybody here? Recycling, good. Okay, great. Recycling seems to be coming up. We hear recovery. Yes, good. I like that. Combustion. Yes, recycling seems to be taking off. It seems we have just few people on. So if you don't, if you have a phone, kindly go there to slido.com and put in the code over there that you can see at the end of the slide. Okay, great. We see proper waste disposal. Yes. We see waste to energy. That's also interesting. Good. Everybody try and get on the platform so that you can be part of the conversation. We see discipline. Okay, that's an interesting word to use. Good. So we'll allow about 10 seconds more for other people who are ready to, who haven't joined yet. Effectively manage waste. Okay, good. So recycling seems to be on a lot of people's mind, right? Okay, perfect. So there'll be more questions coming up. So if you haven't get on the page so that you could join. Okay, I like that. Scheduled and domestic waste. Okay. Any other? Incineration, I think, yeah. Biological reprocessing. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so we'll take this from here. I think I realized that one of the top comment or the top thing that comes to most of people's mind is recycling, which is interesting for this particular conversation. So let's also see what I have there, and then we'll also see recycling popping up in our conversation as well, and we can all discuss this issue. All right. So since we are talking about most of the audience here from India, we would like to focus more on India. What are some of the challenges that are in the industry when it comes to waste management? And as we have seen, most of the people thought that recycling is on top when we think of waste management. But then, what do we have to know about the industry in India? So we have a huge amount of waste being generated every year when it comes to solid waste, and we have a majority of it coming from the agriculture sector, which it's something important that we should understand and we should know as young people. And also, we have another percentage of it. Secondly, coming from inorganic materials. And so now from this, we get to know the level of waste generation. If you look at the numbers, you could compare it to other countries, or you could compare it to even other communities within India, and you get to know the levels of waste that is being generated every year. Also, we know that the urban population is growing increasingly every year. And we can see that out of this percentage, out of this number of waste that's been generated, urban population is generating amount of 62 million. And this is estimated statistics, and I'm sure it increases every year or it changes from place to place. And we can see the majority of this is plastic, right? We can see others coming from pharmaceutical waste, and we can see e-waste. And this is for the urban community. So we can know who and what we are generating. Also, we can see something about how the system is working, right? There is a percentage of about 22% to 28% of the waste that is generated or collected is properly managed, right? And we say properly managed, I'm sure that all of us will understand what is properly managed, probably being recycled or being taken to proper landfilling facilities to sort of manage them. But then the rest of it, which is more than 70% of it, is not being treated very well or not properly managed, and they are just left at dump sites, and we can all witness all these kind of activities. So which means that it shows another issue of the system, that the system has a lot of issues. And I can see in the conversation when people share their thoughts that combustion, dumping, open dumping is also very popular, and it also comes with some lack of innovation and technology and education in the system as well, right? So now we have an oversight, we have an overview of how things look within our communities, and I'm sure a lot of professionals in the chat will even emphasize on the things that are happening in the communities, right? So what is in our waste and how does it look like? So from a recent paper in 2018, it shares that majority, that's about 50% approximately, of the waste that is generated in India is organic waste. And this is very interesting for me because I think it's sort of good news, but then it's not good news if we don't have segregation of the waste, right? If all the waste is mixed up, then it means that there is a huge problem here. And I would really like to know people's opinion. You can put this in the chat, that why do you think organic waste is majority of the composition of the waste in India? You could just feel free to put in the chat why you think food waste or organic waste forms majority of it. But then we can see plastic being about 4%, metal, glass, paper, and others follow, and then we have industry and other materials also following. But then when it comes to the composition of our waste, I think there are things that we should be concerned about. The material that is being in the waste, and its properties, the cost of it, and its end of life. And the reason why I'm mentioning these four points is that the material's composition and its property is very essential to understand how we're going to manage the waste and how we're going to understand, recycling it. The cost of it, if it's cheaper, people will probably, if it's more expensive to recycle it, people will rather go in for the virgin materials. Example is what happens with plastics. The recycling of it is not going very well because the raw material, that's the virgin plastics, is less expensive, right, than recycling in the whole process. So that is also an interesting thing to know in the industry, and that shows the loophole in there. So now let's take another question before we dive into some of the things that are happening in the industry and the loopholes that we see. So what are the challenges that you see in India's waste management system? So you guys mentioned earlier about what you think of when it comes to waste management. So now we have another question of what are some of the challenges that you see. So go on the platform and then put in the same key. You don't have to actually leave the platform. There is the same code for all the questions, right? So just share your thoughts, what you think about the challenges in waste management in India. So we'll take maybe just another 15 seconds to do this quickly. Okay, so we have improper collection of waste, and that is very, very important. Any thoughts that you have? Government support? Yes, that's great. Yes. Any other? Anyone can participate. So just get on board and let's get, and if you're not from India, I think for sure you can also share your thoughts on this. Okay, great. Improper segregation, that is very important. Improper collection of waste, large amount of waste produced. Okay, great. We have government support also showing up a lot. Everyone, I just want to hear your thoughts on what you also think about how the system looks like. And then we could all be on the same page that we agree that there is a problem and we need to solve it. Okay, so 5 more seconds. Let's take any more ideas. On scientific treatment. Okay, great. People's initiatives. Okay, great. Mhm. Yeah, it's very interesting that different people are sharing the ideas and they have different points. Okay, great. Okay, that's also great input. Ethical problems. Okay, it's appearing twice. That's great. Okay, so I think that the thoughts that are being shared are very interesting, and I would like to encourage everyone to really engage in this conversation because it helps us to, understand what is happening and also get your opinion on what is also happening. Okay, great. All right. So now let's look at the loopholes in the industry. You have mentioned ethical problems, improper collection, some scientific stuff. I like the ideas that were being shared, but we have issues, and these are the main areas that I would like to touch. In production, human behavior, the failure of the system, and then some standards that are really wrong, and then lies, something I call lies. So in production, we have overproduction, and then we have very high demand, which is supposed to support, of course, the increasing population, right? And so there is also overconsumption, of course. But when all these processes go on, obviously there's going to be a corresponding over wasting processes. Now, human behavior plays a very important role in the challenges that we have in the industry. And one is littering, right? If we are collecting waste from different areas, it becomes very difficult for them or the authorities to manage this if people are littering it. And unfortunately, this is not just in India, it's actually global, that wasting has become sort of habits of people and is kind of, in a way, related to luxury, right? That people, we see it on YouTube, we see it on Twitter, we see it on TikTok and everywhere. People dancing, wasting food, they are just, wasting has become kind of part of us and we see it and it's funny. But then there are other people in other parts of the world and even in our local communities who do not have anything. But you ask yourself that after making all these videos and making all these TikTok shows and all that, where do they take the materials? It becomes waste. And that is something that is a challenge in the industry. The system has a lot of failure, especially in the waste management area. The truth is recycling is tricky and currently is not the best. Of course, I saw that recycling was on top of your suggestions as waste management technologies or waste management ideas. But unfortunately, recycling is really not working for us. And recycling whole idea, you can find out the details. I'll share some links at the end of this conversation so that you could dive into more about what recycling is and how it came about and what are the challenges in it. And I'm not saying that recycling is not good, but then it's not working currently because of monetary issues and energy demand and even the demand for recycled products, right? And you can ask anyone who is in this industry, they will attest to this. The other issue is greenwashing and education. Now, because of sustainability, everyone is wasting, right? The industries are just, we have like really wrong standards that probably in a shift, someone might think that, okay, I have this kind of materials, and because people are not having demand for this, they're just going to throw it away because it's not used. Certification and all those standards are illegal activities. Like I know that this happens in India and other parts of South Asia, where waste is being shipped from other countries to them, and this becomes very difficult for them to also manage their waste because everyone has issues. So if other countries bring their waste to them, it becomes also very difficult to manage. So, I mean, standards, we have weak laws that are not working because if laws are really working, people are not going to litter, right? And also lies in the industry where maybe quality materials are not being provided. The media is also not helping because, of course, the media plays a very important role in educating people and all that. But all these issues combine and they bring challenges in the industry, right? Right. So what is the loopholes? We have talked about how the challenges in the industry. But now looking at the supply chain, how does it look? There is extensive wasting in every stage of the system, of course, right from taking waste from the source to extraction, to transportation, consumption, to the end of life, dumping, littering, landfilling. There is wasting in all these stages, and we all play a very important role in that. Material recovery, someone also mentioned that in the discussion, is very low and inefficient. And then with all these process, we see a linear economy, which is where we just take materials and then we just dump them after use. And that is not helping the system because population is increasing, so people are not able to, the waste management industry is not able to be part of, regulating the waste or generating solutions to the amount of waste that is coming up. And then currently, the policies that we have are also not helping us to be able to work efficiently in this industry. So now, what's the impact of this improper waste system in our communities? And I'm sure that we were expecting to see, very weird and bad images, but then I just intentionally added these nice pictures because if we are not seeing our communities this clean, then it means that we have an issue. Our beaches looking this clean. If we go to the beaches, I'm not sure they are looking this clean. If they are not, then it means that what we are seeing there is as a result of our improper waste management. If we look at our water channels and our markets, are they really this nice or are they this good? If they are not, then it means that there is an issue that we need to solve. And our water bodies, if you go around to the water bodies, I'm sure if there are some elderly people here, they could attest that 20 years ago, our water bodies were not like this. But if you see them and they don't look this good, then it means that there is an issue. So, of course, we have to solve this problem. But then it starts from a perception. So today, I'm not going to give you technical ideas. I'm not going to give you all the interesting and technical stuff, but I'm just going to boost or sort of encourage you for change, for us to all change our minds, whether you're from the industry, whether you're a government stakeholder, whether you are an individual, a young person, or someone who is about to start a business, or you're not even in the waste industry or environmental industry. I think you have a part to play in this issue. So the sustainable way forward is that now population is increasing, the demand is increasing, production is increasing, consumption is definitely increasing, and all these things mean that waste is definitely also going to increase, right? So how do we find a way to boost proper waste management? And I'll take you back to our Industry 5.0 wasteless legislature, right? And this is something that our team at Industry 5.0 ambassadors all over the world, we have almost approaching 100 people right now across the globe, came together with our founder, Michael Rather, who is from Czech Republic, to put out this. That wasting is a process in which a product or a material or any form or in any kind of volumes becomes waste. And this is sort of because if you try and Google it and find anywhere, you're not going to find like a definition, a well classified definition for waste. And because there is nothing like that at the beginning, I mentioned this as well, people just waste because there is no standard to it, right? And wasting clearly from this legislature framework that we have states that the wasting is a failure of a system, right? It's a failure, it's a clear failure of our system, and then needs to be prevented in the first place. And wasting is not a feature of any material. So there is nothing wrong with our food materials. There is nothing wrong with plastic, glass, wood. There is nothing wrong with all these materials. It's just our behavior. So we are trying to find the source of wasting so that we can be able to manage it very well. Now that population is increasing and we cannot control that because people need to have families. And to a certain extent, is a right of people and we cannot control that. So why don't we control the behavior and why don't we manage the behavior together? And one main issue is also single use. Single use is also a failure of a system because why should we invest more in getting a material? And because there are subsidies to the material, we just use it once for 5 minutes and then just throw it away. And if you think about it, you realize that that is also a failure of the system. So now just try to explain what I have said in the form of a diagram. So imagine that an industry picks up raw materials, virgin materials like plastics or glass or wood or anything, and makes a product and send it to a shop, right? And then someone just picks it up and then purchases and go home and then uses it, right? Ideally, if you look at it, we were supposed to segregate it back into the plastics, the food waste, and the other glass materials and other stuff so that we can use them again as product. That is how it's supposed to be. But then we realize that in the industry, that is not what is happening. You take your materials and then you just go to the dump site and you just throw it away. And what happens to it again? Meanwhile, we invested a lot of things into going back, to extract the materials and all that. So why can't we just simply segregate the materials and then disassemble them? Whether it's a phone, whether it's an electronic material, or it's a water bottle, or it's a cornflakes that you just ate, the box, pizza, like any material, of course, we can definitely do that if we want to do it. And so that is the way forward that we want to approach as the sustainable way forward to making the waste management industry more effective. And all I'm saying is about waste prevention. Waste prevention is key in this area. So nothing definitely that is used or utilized again should not become waste. Because if you look into details about every material that you use, think about it. The water bottle right in front of you that you are listening to this presentation, whatever material that you have with you, the cup, the plate, if you had dinner this evening, what material whatever thing that you used, right, it can be reused again. And we know already from our previous slides that organic waste forms majority of the waste in India. So which means that we have good resources to use. And if population is increasing, then of course we can convert this into composting, we can convert it into manure, there is biogas, there is so many things that we can actually invest in and not make these things go to waste to contribute to greenhouse emission and ultimately climate change and all that. So it's an interesting area to look at. Also, we realize that sorting and collection and all these processes that go on should not even happen if we consider that everything that we use right from the beginning can be utilized by another user or another person for another purpose. And I'll give you a typical example of probably maybe if you go to the industry, they might have maybe a textile industry. They might have some waste cloth that they did not use again. They could pass it on back into the supply chain to use it to produce maybe other materials like doormats or other things. If that company is not using it to produce such materials, they could extend it and give it to another company to use something like that. And that is the idea that we are trying to bring in for people to understand that waste prevention is the way forward for us to go in order to make waste management more effective and sustainable in the future, right? So it's about rethinking the system. So now we are going to leave or reduce extraction of materials and rather focus on waste prevention within extraction, processing, manufacturing, transportation, consumption, and rethinking waste as a resource, and then keeping the material back into the supply chain. And in this, we can think of activities like waste diversion, upcycling, reuse, and waste prevention, as well as recycling, to be able to keep these materials in this particular loop without actually focusing more on extraction of new materials. And why is this important? Because it's going to decrease the amount of waste generated that needs to be managed. So the pressure on waste management becomes lower, right? Okay, so now in moving forward in waste management, what do you think is going to be the responsibility of who? Or who do you think is going to be responsible for waste management? I would like to hear your thoughts. So get back onto Slido and share your thoughts. Okay, so it seems everyone is going to be part of this. If you think it's a government, sure, add the government. If you think it's the private sector, if you think it's citizens, if you think it's the industry that need to do this, then add your thought to it. Let's add 2 seconds. to that. Maybe 10 seconds. Okay, great. Everybody get on the platform. We have quite a number of people here. So get there and just, it doesn't take a long time to sort of add your answer, just a click and we have your answer. Yes, good. Okay, great. Maybe we just add 3 more seconds to see. Okay, great. The private sector is also coming up. Looks like, looks very interesting. Okay, great. If you haven't, just try and get it on the platform and also share your thoughts on that in a few seconds. We have about 10 minutes more to go in this presentation, and I hope I can finish very soon. Okay, great. So it seems that a lot of people agree to the fact that everyone should be involved because we are mentioning the idea of waste prevention as part of to support the waste management system, and that was going to help us. So now we realize that there are 2 main areas that we are looking at. We have 2 issues. So now we have already existing waste that needs to be recovered from the environment, and as you can see from the picture here. But then we also have waste prevention of the waste that is yet to be produced, right? So if you can see here, a very typical example of something that you can use for materials that can be recovered or reused or repurposed into something else, right? All right. So who does what? So in this system, we'll need the government to sort of make policies that are sort of associated with sustainability and the regenerative economy. Of course, everyone is involved as we agreed earlier. And that is a very, very good one. I was very happy to see that a lot of people think that everyone should be involved. The government needs to, of course, provide infrastructure that will support this. We need incentives for sure to help people to get into the waste management industry. And when I say that, I mean that with the first option, we need to recover most of the waste that is in the environment. So if we think that we have money lying on our dump sites and areas, then we have to get the government's hand in it to help us for sure to make the industry more lucrative and easy for the young people to also dive into it, right? One important thing, education and awareness is very important in this. We come to the private sector. I'll quickly go through this so that we can be able to go through our slides before our time is up. Innovation is important, technology is important. We need collaborations for sure to be able to, and collaboration here is very important because as I mentioned earlier in the waste legislature, we mentioned that if one person produces a certain waste and cannot utilize it, because there is collaboration, maybe you have pieces of glasses, right? You can collaborate with someone in construction to use that for maybe producing something like a structure or to help in making, now people are also making sand. They make sand-like materials for road construction and all that from glass that is broken and crushed, right? So that kind of collaboration will help us to know that someone's waste material can be recovered by another industry or by another individual, or even families. We bring it down to our own society. If you don't need your waste, if you don't need to use materials anymore, you can pass it on to your brother or to your friend who might need it at that particular moment. And at that point, it doesn't have to go to the dump site and it becomes material or useful something for someone, right? And the industry has an important role to play in this because manufacturing, prioritizing upcycling and recycling and reuse is very important, because if they are manufacturing at low quality and all that, we cannot promote using of these things. Technology for sure in the industry will be important because they have to change their ways a little bit on how to recover waste from the system, because there are some industries that just loses their materials, right? And that just becomes waste. All right, so let's look at another area. And this is very important for me, the youth, because the youth all across the globe are becoming involved in waste management. And that is very, very important. Sorry about the noise. I think your track is passing. So, but the youth has a very important role to play in waste management in terms of being innovative, because we have to recover most of the materials. And as I mentioned earlier today, I'm not going to dive into the technical aspect of it because I just want to enthuse you about things that you should look out for. collaborate with people, dive into research and development, create awareness around you, tell your family members about how wasting is actually affecting our society. And we have floods happening, we have lots of things that are happening. So what role can you play as an individual? Be innovative. Recently there was an Indian who won an important award, and it's not about waste management, but I think it's the innovation behind it is very, very important. So she had a truck where she sort of put a solar panel on it and put so that he could ride the bike to local communities for them to help them iron their clothes. And it's a very interesting idea that a young person, I think she's very, very young. You could Google it. I'll try and find the link and put it in the chat later. But I think young people should be very, very innovative. Recently, I also saw another thing from India about someone who is converting orange peels into soap. So you just have to put together orange peels and put it in a bottle and leave it there for a couple of weeks. And when you take it out, it becomes soap, and you could use it for your kitchen, for washing things in your bathroom and other things. These are natural things that we can only get by researching, by educating ourselves, and by actually being innovative. And guess what? Through waste management or through preventing waste or recovering it, we could actually make money out of it. So people who are there and do not have jobs after school, this is also a way for us to get innovative and dive into areas. Whilst we are providing jobs for ourselves, we can also help to save our community from the improper waste management that we see around us, right? Okay, so technology, I'm going to talk briefly about certain few areas that are very important in this. Technology plays a very important role because, of course, we need innovations, we need new things to convert, some of the waste materials that we have into resourceful things. Of course, like biogas, biogas can be used for cooking. And I'm stressing on organic material because we have about 50% of our waste in India coming from organic materials, and that they are compostable, right? So we can dive into technologies, efficient technologies that can be used to sort of help in converting our waste into resourceful materials and bring them back into the supply chain. There is an interesting company in Germany that works with local communities in Africa and in South in Asia to convert food waste and organic waste into composting, and they actually make their into biogas, and they actually make their materials, the biogas, and they contain them in backpacks that can be moved in local communities. A very innovative idea. So you could reach out to such a company by researching to also help bring such technologies into your community. Education and research, very important, because all these materials need to be recovered. And think about how we can prevent waste. So if you have a material that you think you cannot use again, now researching and development can actually help us to know how to convert these materials into other things so that they don't have to be dumped into our dump site, right? Education, super important. All of us need to be on the same page in moving forward. So everyone needs to be educated, especially the new generation. We don't have to get the young people that are coming into the habit of just littering. And the industries also need to educate themselves of how they can be able to change their ways. And as we got from the interactions earlier, everyone needs to get involved. And this is very important for the local communities because most of the time, the policies that are made or the activities that go on leaves out the local communities and the local people out of it. How can we involve them more? The government needs to come out with initiatives, and private institutions can also come up with these ideas on how to make the industry or how to make everyone involved in these activities. And that is very, very important. Very, 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 very important. So I hope that you have been encouraged to sort of have an idea on how we can move on to have a more sustainable approach towards waste management. And the idea is that no one should be left behind. Everyone needs to be part of this movement. And I want to instill in your mind that waste prevention is very, very important and it's key. So now look at home. this evening and look at from morning till evening, how much waste have you generated? And look at it. Is there a way that the waste that you have at home, you could make money out of it? You could supply it to a company. You could get someone else to be involved, to be able to manage the waste very well, to convert it into something that you do not be part of the challenges that we have, but be part of the solution. These are the things that I really, really want everyone to think about. Right? Okay. So, do you remember this whole issue that we talked about the level of waste, who is generating it, who is the challenges that we have? Okay, if you do understand this and you do remember this is what we have to do now. Now it's a call for action. Be part of the solution. Start in your own small way. Do a little bit of research. And in this, I'm talking to youth, government institutions, if there are some government institution representatives here, industry, collaborate, reach out with other people, and then ask for change. It's very important because sometimes we realize that most of the initiatives that are taken is top to down. But now the youth and the people have a say, right? You can also ask for change by demanding it. You can start a podcast, you can start an initiative, you can start I don't know, you can start something like a small recycling facility within your own family. You can collect all the waste in your family to sort of, start an initiative, right? And ask for change. Be part of be on the radio, be on the local community conversations at church, in the mosque, in anywhere that you find yourself, right? We have to call for action so that the government could also be part of this, because we need everyone on board, right? So now join this quiz, the last quiz that we have for today. I want to ask a question. Do you think that waste prevention is going to be possible? So I need everyone to, last question, join the chat right now on slido.com and then go put in the code and then be part of it. Yes, great. Okay, our time is moving, so please be quick with it and join it. If you think waste management is going to be possible, great. I can see some people in here. Great. Okay, great. So let's move on. I think that people agree that it's definitely going to be possible, right? Okay. So yes, great. It's possible that we can actually have waste prevention, and that is very, very important that we all agree that, right? Okay, great. Okay, perfect. All right. So so we have a winner in there. Anyways, so to find more about these things, I think that we have a couple of people in here, and I don't know what's your background, but then we have a Green Living Chat podcast. Just Google it, Green Living Chat podcast, and just let me know. We have interactions over there talking about solutions that people are applying all over the world, so you can learn about it. There is a great platform called Climate Science. Here they talk about climate change and all the things that are involved. It's for free. You can have tutorials in there, everything that you need. So just quickly, put it in your bookmark or something like that. Get on LinkedIn. There are a lot of professionals over there. If you don't know how to do something, try and get there for people to help you connect with people in the industry to sort of who are into waste management and who are into waste prevention to help you start an initiative today. And for companies, for sure, dive into eco-friendly materials for sure. We have to dive into that. Get into auditing. Get people who can help you, professionals in this industry who can help you. And most importantly, I think everyone should be involved in research. And there are some people, of course, who do not know how to read, and they shouldn't be left out of this operation. So if you are able to do this and to do some research, try and translate this into local languages that people can also understand, and we can get everyone involved. Industry 5.0, we are on LinkedIn, and you could also email me as well, and get in touch with us. Or for sure, if you have any questions, we'll also dive into that in our live show later this week. And use social media to be part of it. And most importantly, I think, find the next innovation hub next to you to be able to help you find innovations and new ideas on how we can use waste well back into the supply chain to be used as resources. Yeah, so that's it for today. If you have any questions, for sure, we're going to discuss that in the live show on Sunday. All right. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for making this session a big success. The webinar was really very amazing. I would like to propose 30 vote of thanks to you, sir, for a graceful today's webinar. Your presence and voice would help magnify our causes best in possible ways. I hope all the participants learned a lot with this webinar. I would really like to thank you, sir, for giving us your valuable time, and I am so delighted to be a part of that today's webinar.